You're raising a roof. That seemed like that's a good sign.
All right, Miss Kawaii, tell me what happened last week. Tell everybody what's going on.
On Thursday, I passed my exam. Yes.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, like wow, like oof.
Did you feel like, did you get stumped on anything, or was it like pretty straightforward? You felt good going into it?
So
you can be honest.
I had a really I was, due to what I've learned about anxiety, I am, because when you say I have anxiety, it's like you're describing yourself as anxiety. I had the feeling of anxiety. And so after one of our classes, and I think I maybe had like 2 weeks left before my test, and I was like, Kelly, can you call me? Because we need to have a conversation. So we talked, and she sent me some really good podcasts and some really good information. And basically for the last 2 weeks, in between studying and praying, and also listen to those affirmations and things, because I was freaking out on the time, right? It's like they say don't watch the clock, but like, how can you not watch the clock? So yeah, it was some things, like I said, they said you're not going to know everything, right? So the night before the exam, Kelly was like, don't take any more tests, right? Because I've taken so many tests. Every time I take the test, one of those practice tests, there was still questions I had never seen before, right? And so that brought up something that you didn't know and added to your data dump. And so, because I knew for a fact, because I know myself, that if I had seen a question or a couple of questions that I didn't know about, I was going to freak out.
Yeah.
And I was going to be trying to look that up and focus on that, and focus on those 3 or 4 things, and forget about the other 1,000 I've already learned. Mm-hmm. So I didn't take any tests. Basically, I just went over my data dump, went over the flashcards. Next morning, I started at 6 a.m. because my test wasn't like till 1. So I went over data dump every hour, went for a walk, went over data dump, washed dishes, went over the data dump. I mean, and that's what I did. I didn't work that day. I took the day off because I knew if I worked even 2 or 3 hours, there was going to be something, you know, that either I had to do or complete. So we're going to take that out of the equation. And so I just did I even looked up what you're supposed to eat before you take an exam.
So tell us, what are we supposed to eat?
I know citrus, dark chocolate, and eggs. It's like 10 things, but those are the things that I knew I had in my house. So I had me some scrambled eggs. I had me tangerine in my car while I was waiting for my exam to start. And the only thing I really didn't have was the chocolate, but you know.
You did fine without it.
Yeah, I did fine without it. So it was, go ahead.
I said, that's so exciting. I mean, so like you were finally able to overcome your anxiety, right? And you were able to get in there and pass this exam. You used that data dump, I hear you saying. So that's amazing. Mm-hmm. What did you find on the test surprised you? Anything?
No, because I took the test like maybe like a month ago, and I had above target and then below target. So you have to at least have target in all 3 sections in order to pass. So what I found this time, because my nerves were calm, I just found it to be a little easier, right? Because I wasn't stressing about my time. Now, my first 60 questions, it took me 1 hour and 30 minutes to get to those questions. I kind of did take my time, not trying to take my time, but at that time I was like, I'm not looking at this clock, right? Mm-hmm. So I went through, the hard questions made easy. I used I don't want to cuss. I used that highlighter that they have, because you can highlight certain things, or you can cross through what you don't want. I use that religiously for every question. I was like, this is the question. This is the keyword. We're in Agile. We're in hybrid. This is what we're trying to do, right? And without looking at the answers. And then I went through, that's not going to happen, right? Some things that I learned from Kelly and, also Scott, that because some things, how they say, go to the sponsor, right? Go to the sponsor and talk to the sponsor. Don't go to the sponsor. You're going to, unless it's compliance or regulation or law changes. Other than that, you're the PM or you're the Scrum Master, you need to try to handle these things on your own. There are a lot of, well, not a lot, but there were a few questions on this compliance thing changed. Or there's a travel ban, you can't travel anymore, and one of the answers would be like, you need to go talk to your sponsor, right, and see how you're going to handle this. So that was one thing that I remembered religiously, because I kept getting those wrong, right? On the regular ones, it's like, well, Biff doesn't want to work today. I like, go talk to your sponsor. That is not the answer.
Does it tell you that you've gotten it wrong or do you not know that you got it wrong?
You don't know that you got it wrong.
So, okay.
It was just going through the hard questions made easy, going through the practice test. And, when you do your data dump, right, you're finding, I would always go over the ones that I got wrong, right? And then a lot of times it would say, well, you don't go to this and you don't go to the sponsor for this, or, you're supposed to be a leader, a servant leader. You need to try to handle things on your own. So that one right there, I was like, I know I got these right. They were not telling me, but I got these. I know I got these 5 right.
Good. Did you use all the time?
Yes.
Okay.
I had, because, you got 60 questions. You got to answer them. Once you submit, you get a 10-minute break. You can't go back. You won't see those again. For the second section, you get 60 questions. Once you answer them, you don't go back. I used 130 minutes on the first section. So on my break, I actually took, some people say they don't take their break. I take my break because I'm trying to de-stress. I'm trying to breathe. So I'm like, okay, I got 120 questions left. Let me try to divide this time up, right? Now I actually do have to look at the clock, right? Because sometimes, I used to catch myself reading the questions over and over again, but that's why this time I took advantage of those highlighters, right? And I knew what I was reading. This is what I'm focusing on. This is what I need to answer. And so I had 2 minutes left at the end. I had 2 minutes to go over. I answered all the questions. I flagged what I didn't know so I could come back to it. And that's one thing I learned from the first time. Like, if I do not know this right off, or I can't figure this out, I'm going to come back to this, right? So I had 2 minutes left. I flagged 2 in the last 60 questions. I got through. I answered the first one. I changed the first one that I had flagged. And then by the time I started reading the second one that I flagged, it was like, time's up. And the screen froze. And I just dropped my head. And I was like, okay, well, it's over, right? You're just waiting on that screen to pop up. So I closed my eyes like this. And I started peeping through. And on the last part of it, it said, this is such a great accomplishment. And so I put then I was like, okay, I'm fine. I did the touchdown sign. The guy was looking at me. I was like, come sign me out, log me out. He's like, you want to take a survey? I was like, no, I don't want to touch no more buttons. I'm done. Like, this is over. Log me out. So yeah. But
did you feel like it was more agile questions, or
I felt like it was more agile? There were a lot of hybrid questions. So yeah, it was more agile. And basically, I would say 100% situational.
Wow. Yep. Do you remember, what was the question I had? I didn't want to cut you off earlier.
That's okay.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like, what was your last score on your last practice exam that you took?
I think I did 3 like back to back. When I didn't time it, I made a 78. when I did time and I made a 73. When I did time and I made a 73 on my last one, it wasn't a good environment. I made like a 65 because I was trying to do it out in the open in my living room, and then people
about
just,
that.
hey, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again. That's so exciting. I'm hoping I have the same story on the 5th if I can get through the month.
You will.
Yeah.
Buckle down, buckle down.
So
Kawaii, so it sounds like, Scott's curriculum and everything really worked well for you, gave you everything you needed for the exam. We were able to manage and kind of walk through that anxiety, get you over that hump. Your evaporating data dump is doing well. I mean, you were just a model student. Anything I threw at you, you did. So you should be very proud of yourself. I'm very proud of you. Chris, do you have any questions for Kawaii?
No questions, but congratulations.
Thank you. I will say I didn't have any math questions. Like, I didn't have to do any math. I did have a CPI question, like the CPI was 1 point something, and you have to answer it, like, are you over budget and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I didn't really have any math or anything like that.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that.
The same.
Yeah, it was a better experience.
I had about 8 questions that were not picked, like the best answer, but select 2 out of the 4, or select 3 out of 5. And I only had I had drag and drop. I think I had 2 of those. So yeah.
So other than the drag and drop and the select multiple, you didn't have any of the where you have to move it on the graph.
I had one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to move the answer to the best one, or the best, kind of like those are the ones that are kind of like a definition, right? So I would say, yeah, I only had a couple of those.
Cool. Any advice you can give to someone who's contemplating, on, a program to enter into to, finally get their PMP certification?
Nothing else but this. I'm a visual learner, and having the classes and showing your videos, because, at first you're like nervous, but it's okay to get it wrong during the classes, because that's how you learn, and you get to see how other people think. It's like, well, I didn't think about it that way, or I didn't see that keyword, or those keywords that stand out with you. So to you. So this was it for me. Like, I have already told like 3 people, like, you need to take this. I had one friend, he took it in January. He was like, it didn't work out. I was like, hey, Scott Payne. Yeah, so this was good for me. It was very I didn't have to memorize that those process. You learn them, right? The thing is that if you learn them, you learn the processes and all of that. If you learn them, then you can answer the questions, right? You don't have to visualize in your mind, where it is, So when he actually says you don't have to read that book, because I read that book like 3 times and I still didn't understand it. So you really don't have to read this book, this PMBOK, to pass this test, not the way that he teaches it. So
that's right. That's awesome. Well, congratulations again. We're super happy for you.
Thank you. I get my life back.
You get your life back. That's right. You finally get your life back because you've been working so hard. That's awesome.